Lord, make us instruments of your peace.
Where there is hatred, let us sow love.
Where there is injury, pardon.
Where there is doubt, faith.
Where there is despair, hope.
Where there is darkness,
light. And where there is sadness, joy. O Divine Master,
grant that we may not so much seek
to be consoled as to console,
to be understood as to understand,
to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive,
it is in pardoning that we are pardoned,
and it is in dying
that we are born to eternal life.
Amen.
Here is your WESN News on the Hour. I'm Naomi McNish. Thanks for joining us. Here are the headlines. 2 killed in fatal Couva crash. Union salary talks face delays. Charities receive over $500,000 from Guardian Group Shine event. And internationally, Mark Zuckerberg's Meta donates $1 million to Trump Fund. Now for the details. An early morning crash in Couva has claimed the lives of 2 men, Andy Gibbs and Brandon Francois. The accident occurred along the southern main road in McBean near the Unipet service station. The victims were in a Nissan Safiro, which was severely damaged in the collision. Andy Gibbs, a founding member of the Nissan Safiro of Trinidad and Tobago Club, was remembered in a heartfelt tribute on social media for his dedication and passion. Graphic footage of the crash has been circulating online, showing one of the victims pleading for help before succumbing to his injuries. Emergency crews, including Couva fire officers, used hydraulic cutting tools to retrieve the bodies from the wreckage. Police are continuing investigations into the tragic incident. Salary negotiations for the 2020-2022 period continue between trade unions and Chief Personnel Officer Commander Daryl Dindial. However, discussions with some unions, including the Public Service Association, Fire Service Association, and All Trinidad General Workers Union, are yet to begin due to scheduling conflicts. Fire Service Association President Keon Guy says his team aims to meet with the CPO on December 20th after reviewing an initial offer. Meanwhile, PSA President Leroy Batiste expressed concerns over unresolved negotiations for prior periods which remain in court. The Oil Fields Workers Trade Union stated it negotiates directly with employers but criticized delays caused by some entities awaiting CPO directives. Negotiations remain ongoing and challenging, according to the CPO. 40 children's charities have received $520,600 raised during Guardian Group's Shine charity run and walk on November 30th at Nelson Mandela Park. On December 11th, checks were distributed to the charities at the company's West Moorings office. Group CEO Ian Chinapu emphasized that Shine goes beyond a race, aiming to transform lives and strengthen communities in Trinidad and Tobago. Beneficiaries include St. Mary's Children's Home, Rainbow Rescue, and the Coalition Against Domestic Violence. Charity representatives expressed gratitude, noting the funds will provide vital support for children, including education, shelter, and trauma services. Internationally, Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, has donated $1 million to an inauguration fund for President-elect Donald Trump. The tech giant's boss, Mark Zuckerberg, dined with Trump at his Mar-a-Lago resort in November, having sought to repair his and his firm's relationship with Trump following the election. Trump has previously been highly critical of Mr. Zuckerberg and Facebook, calling the platform anti-Trump in 2017. Meta is not believed to have made similar donations to President Joe Biden's inaugural fund in 2020 or to Trump's previous inaugural fund in 2016. The company confirmed its $1 million donation to the inaugural fund to several outlets on Wednesday. Inauguration funds are used to pay for events and activities when a new president takes office. Some consider them an attempt to curry favor with a new administration. Trump will be sworn in as the 47th U.S. president on January 20th. Well, that's news to the hour on WESN. I'm Naomi McNish. Thanks for watching.
WESN.
Folks, we're back and better than ever.
Your show have always appeared to be a show that is focused on going to the cause or looking to the cause.
We hardly ever talk about the white-collar crime, though. We always talk about the ones that involve more as physical violence against individuals.
The citizens will only measure transmission when water starts to flow through their taps.
The Constitution doesn't talk about local election.
Contract mafia that's responsible for looting the country, and they own and operate these politicians.
So if you are running a country and you can't say nothing as a prime minister, please take up your bag and go.
It is not comparative to the murder figures, but it is in fact very high.
I believe he's protecting certain individuals.
You are watching Strictly Legal on WESN Content Capital. Just give an overview of what exactly is that split arrangement.
Now you don't need to register nothing. We can do that another time. But then it becomes a hit, and then everybody starts to want to claim.
The laws that predate many of the independent countries' constitutions are going to be those colonial laws.
We know there are an infinite amount of circumstances that would lead to a murder.
I have a great idea and I have a great concept, but until it's actually expressed, it does not become intellectual property.
Accomplishments or targets of a forensic accountant is to quantify what may have been lost.
We believe we defend criminals and we manipulated the law and we exploiting the system.
A responsible journalist will reach out to the person who they have the information on for a comment.
Join me, Dr. Nalini Kokram, on What's Up Doc, where we discuss all your burning questions concerning health.
Trinidad and Tobago is among one of the highest risk group of patients that develop this form of genetic breast cancer.
What I'd like to take home from a short interview like this, screening. You must screen.
Because it's silent.
It's silent.
Yeah.
And because it's silent, you don't know it's there.
What's Up Doc, every Tuesday and Thursday on WESN, Content Capital.
Money is something we all deal with, but how many of us truly understand it? What if you could make better decisions with your money? Decisions that secure your future, protect your family, and bring you peace of mind. I'm Darren Jacobs, and I'm here to help you make sense of your dollars. Welcome to Dollars and Cents, the show that breaks down the financial world in ways that matter to you. No jargon, no confusion, just real conversations about money, your money. So join me every Wednesday at 10 a.m. on WESN for Dollars and Cents.
This is Face of Sports, WESN Content Capital. How you felt about the kiss on the lip?
That's the business. I'm nothing to do with that.
I find that was distasteful.
The national senior team, whether you like it or not, that is the model for all other teams to follow.
I'm assuming that the regional requirement may be a much stricter requirement.
This is not about Pro League and Super League. This is a league run by the Normalization Committee that I'm responsible for.
Nobody expected FIFA to fund this arrangement.
If we
don't get a professional attitude towards this, we are doomed for failure.
You break the balance, trip the leg, control the body.
They ain't gonna stand put forever.
Why you want the Chiefs to lose so? Why you want the Chiefs to lose so?
They already have two. Lamar don't
Why?
have.
You're jealous because you know the Chiefs getting closer to the Patriots. Let's go to the last part.
No,
of the
not no.
Let's go to the last part.
This is 10 Questions. I'm Andy Johnson. The distance from where we should be in the world in going forward on our commitments with climate change.
The effects of climate change that cannot be accounted for. It's called loss and damage, and we're seeing loss and damage happening so much more in this decade and the previous decade.
The principal term there was this question of the correspondent banking issues.
That is why we're trying to build capacity with this country here, Trinidad and Tobago, and other countries in the region. Man is not showing any signs of stopping or even slowing down. More than half of the forest in Trinidad is already gone.
All the plants and all the animals and all of the nice clean water and fresh air and everything had to be on this planet for humanity to have a chance.
We have small change when it comes to countries that can take decisions, and when they speak, the world listens.
The General Assembly is a very democratic forum. And Trinidad and Tobago has the same vote as Canada, in spite of the obvious difference in size.
Pastor J, I want to get a tattoo.
You really
respond to me. Respond to me. How you would respond to me?
The first question I'll ask is why.
Controversial taboo topics.
We get so consumed by church, we forget that we have to live the life of being a Christian outside of the Sunday.
Like you say,
services.
we think going to a service makes us a Christian.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
So here we are about to hear the second time Pastor J wanted to take a tattoo.
Would have been late last year and early this year.
Oh gosh.
Hope Unfiltered podcast with Pastor J and Ren.
Maybe he landed here totally by coincidence. But if by chance he's admiring your fresh coat of Benjamin Moore soft sky blue, well, that's a pretty high compliment. Coming from an expert.
Hello there and welcome to AM Prime on WESN Content Capital. Before we even start this repatriation and reintegration process, we've already failed, or are we doomed to fail?
You've got to invest in the institutions that you've established to carry out those sorts of core functions.
We now get into the regional updates to give you an understanding of what's happening across our neighboring islands.
We have available a number of films that are worth showing.
So it was day one when the French Revolution started to develop the concept of universal human rights.
What happened this time is unprecedented. It's one of the largest terrorist attacks in history.
Let's welcome Carl to the program. Carl is over there, next to sir. Hello, Carl.
Silky anteater or pygmy anteater, and we have 2 of the 3 species of anteaters right here.
Here's your chance to win a bicycle, a ride-on, or a hoverboard. Shop at dbesttoys.com and spend $300 or more to win big.
We've got Bobby,
Hot Wheels, Gel Blasters, Ride-ons,
Leapfrog,
Nerf, bicycles and tricycles.
Greco, and Wonder Baby.
Visit us in store at Forces Flagship, McBean, Movietown, Port of Spain,
Eastgate Mall, and M6 Plaza, Endeavour.
Merry Christmas, everyone!
Simons Musical Supplies Limited. We are the specialist in new and used musical instruments, carrying top brands like Yamaha, Pearl River pianos, Meinl and Sabian cymbals, Remo and Evans drumheads and Fender guitars, just to name a few. Also a wide assortment of music books, pan and accessories. At Simons, we service what we sell. Trust the leader. Call us now at 625-6412 or visit us at 20 Board Street, Port of Spain.
Transform your home with PCU Plus. From stylish furniture to the latest appliances, we have everything you need to create your perfect space. At PCU Plus, we offer fair prices and affordable financing options that are cheaper than hire purchase agreements. With convenient locations in San Fernando, Tobago, Arima, and our lifestyle showroom in Barataria, you're never far from the best deals. Visit PCU Plus today and discover why we're the top choice for quality furniture and appliances. PCU Plus. Quality you trust, prices you'll love. Visit one of our locations or find us online to start transforming your home today.
WESN.
Hello there, and welcome to AM Prime on WESN. Thank you very much for joining us for this edition of the program. Now, this morning we continue with the theme of this week, focusing on Tobago. And thus far, the conversation has dominated Tobago's autonomy, or rather, what can be deemed as a failed bid for Tobago's autonomy, depending on who you talk to. But pushing that aside for the moment, what is the power of the Tobago electorate? Does Tobago, or at least the two seats that exist in Tobago, have the power to actually decide the outcome of a general election? Are they pivotal in the outcome of a general election? And that is something that needs to be discussed, especially with the emergence of the TPP. Now, this morning, my guest is a gentleman who says, no worries, bother him anytime, because there's lots to talk about. And don't worry, he has the time leading up until Christmas, so he has been summoned once more to the program. Dr. Shane Mohammed is with us. Good morning, Dr. Mohammed.
Morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Not too bad.
Dr. Mohammed, how is the Tobago electorate different to that of Trinidad?
Well, to start with, they are able to think differently. Tobago is unique because they are seen as an appendage to Trinidad, which is unfortunate, and it's an appendage. So the appendage to Trinidad is unfortunate, but it is also, it gives them an advantage in terms of how they think politically. And over the years, you've seen that they've been able to change their thought process, their voting perspective based on the needs of the Tobagonians society. And we've seen it in 2021 when it was 6-6, and then it eventually became 14-1. We also saw it in 1995 when it became 17-17-2 in Trinidad and Tobago was the defining factor as to who became the government. So Tobago has the ability over the years to make a decision and to give and indicate where they stand politically. And in some instances, they don't have a problem independently being in opposition as long as they have a voice in the national parliament. So they are very unique, but they are also very much advanced in their thinking as opposed to Trinidad.
In that regard, though, is their voice necessarily something that is taken for granted? As you said, they're very much different in their thinking, and they have no issue with perhaps being vocal of it. But is that something that is regarded, highly regarded, or highly respected?
Well, there's different aspects to take into consideration. It is very simple, very easy in Trinidad for Trinidadian politicians to take for granted what Tobago needs and to understand why is it important. And I've said this as part of the autonomy bill. Why is it important for Trinidad to have financial autonomy and independence to decide where they go financially and economically in terms of growth and development for the island and reap the rewards of that, and then trickle it back down into the Tobago society. There's a critical part of the autonomy bill that I think is very important, which is the Tobago Investment Fund. And that is going to give Tobago, if it's properly executed in this scheme, in the greater scheme of a national budget and how a national budget is presented, taking into consideration the 6.9% that Tobago is entitled to at a maximum level. If that is done properly, taking into consideration the importance and the vitality of the Tobago Investment Fund, TIF, then obviously it would be a start to give Tobago a platform, a cushion, and a trampoline by which they could, propel themselves in a different direction. That is not, what we saw coming into the parliament earlier this week as a autonomy bill was really a pack of nonsense. And I agree that it was rushed. I agree that it was very simple, and there are things that are far more important in an autonomy bill that needs to be addressed effectively. And it cannot be simply that it is addressed without consultation and without some sort of dialogue. So, yes, Tobago has been taken for granted. Yes, Tobago has been treated like a bastard child. And the sad part about it is there's a significant amount of Trinidadians who do have business in Tobago, and they understand the levels of frustration that Tobagonians face. So, for example, why is it in 2024, as a simple example, why is it in 2024 the Kiss Bacon Factory, a company, has not set up a smaller version of their setup in Trinidad to, one, generate employment, two, also provide the island with fresh supply of bread and cakes and whatnot, instead of having to ship it over by boat. Now, there is space in the Cove Industrial Estate for a lot of industrialization to take place, but nobody's taking advantage of the opportunity to set up in Tobago and think about it as Tobago and beyond. That's one aspect. So, from where I stand and understanding the Tobagonian perspective and understanding how they've voted, I have also said to the PNM that Tobago is not guaranteed. And I also said to Tobago that they need to know they need to fully understand what they are about and how do we go about this campaign, what is said, what is not said, but more so the caliber of the candidates that they select. must be able to match or beat both candidates from the PNM. And any other political party outside of the PNM and the TPP that decide that they're just going to go into Tobago without understanding the Tobago space and the thinking of the Tobagoan people and throw a candidate in there is rather very foolish.
Well, here's the thing. How much has what transpired this week can be impactful in a Tobagoanian's thinking leading up to next election, whether it be impactful on the People's National Movement, the TPP, or even the United National Congress, who seem to have been advocating on the part of the Chief Secretary?
Well, you have to take into consideration that there has been a huge, a serious adversarial approach to Tobago since 2021, given the 14-1 result of the THA election. We also have to take into consideration that the TPP, the former PDP, now TPP administration, which, by the way, they're not referred to as that administration under the Act and the law, but the current administration and the current executive, I should say the current executive of the THA, they've received serious negative, what I should say, responses, frustrating responses from the central government, all in an attempt to politicize the entire Tobago space and how they develop, grow, progress, how they find ways and means by which they generate employment, generate diversification, grow their tourism industry, X, Y, and Z. I've had stories come to me about, literal government, central government blocking key initiatives of the THA that could benefit the whole of Tobago if it is implemented. So they've been treated with a great level of disrespect and disregard. And I think what we've heard from the Chief Secretary is, one, a signal of political war and preparation to go to that, to get down on the ground and to reorganize the people of Tobago to fight those 2 seats in Tobago and to fight it seriously with formidable candidates. And the utterances from the Chief Secretary about the Prime Minister is really a signal of frustration with having to work in a meaningful manner with the central government. Now, there's another perspective. Tobago can be kingmaker. There's a possibility, huge possibility, that Tobago has to be kingmaker, could be kingmaker in the next general election. But there's also an onus on we're assuming that the kingmaker, that if they are to be kingmaker, they would be kingmaker to the opposition and not necessarily to the government. Dynamics can change depending on how badly one wants to hold government and to whether the People's National Movement can meet the demands at the negotiating table to secure government with the assistance of the TPP, how well that goes. And it's simple. It's very simple. I've broken it down into, and people are gonna ask why and how I got to this formula. I'm starting the election count with the PNM at 20 seats. 20 seats, not 22, taking away the 2 seats in Tobago. And I'm starting the UNC at 19 seats because that's what they currently have. And I'm starting the TPP with 0 seats, given that they control the THA but not the parliamentary seats. And that now puts us with the TPP having to get to 2, the PNM having to retain their 20 or move to 22, and the UNC having to hold on to their 19, and at least grab on 2 to make it to 21. But that's where we're starting at, right? It is very foolish. It would be very foolish, absolutely politically immature and ignorant for the United National Congress as the opposition to simply take for granted the PNM's election machinery. It is not something that is to be taken lightly. I've seen it, and I mean, we've all seen it at work in the elections previous. The most a PNM government has ever stayed outside of power, with the exception, and I'm saying with the exception of the Williams period, has been 2 terms, and that is under Manning. All the other times, they've served 1 term, they've lost, they come back after. Why has the PNM? And a typical example is the 1986 general election, where they were lost 33-3, and by 1991, they were inside 24, right? 26-14. Now, you don't underestimate their machinery. You don't underestimate their ability to work a marginal seat. You do not underestimate the ability to keep the seats that are safe to them. And then they work the marginal seats. And by 2 o'clock on election day, they're popping champagne in Bally's House to declare that they've won, based on their numbers, based on their trajectory, based on the reporting from the ground. UNC collapsed in 2020 very quickly in St. Joseph and in other constituencies by 2 o'clock when the PNM was holding strong. Yes, the heat is on, but we have to take into consideration in 2020 an unpopular government after serving 1 term won an election. Why? Because of the callousness, the overconfidence, and the lack of proper infrastructure, as well as piss-poor candidates provided by the opposition. If the opposition cannot hold on to their 19 seats and gain 2, St. Joseph and San Fernando West, they could quite possibly kiss the government goodbye. And I asked, what legacy does Mrs. Kamala Prasad-Bissessar want to retain for herself after 2025? And it cannot be business as usual by simply picking the same old lame ducks that failed to present a very strong opposition to a very unpopular government for the period 2020 to 2025. So, they have their work cut out. But, let's just say, seats start collapsing as a result of the election machinery by the PNM and the kind of candidate that they put forward. Taking into consideration, I am predicting that Randall Mitchell will become the candidate for Libre, and I would like to see, very interestingly, all eyes are in the Diego Martins to see what happens, especially in the Diego Martin Northeast seat, whether Mr. Imbert, after his Christmas delivery message in the Parliament, is going to be retained or retired. If that happens, then we know that the PNM is making serious, they're changing, while the people will say, well, Emery is not a new face and Randall is not a new face, the fact is they're both serving as senators. And in serving as senators, they're getting seats that are going to influence other seats. And that is what the UNC needs. The UNC needs a hype. Now, take for example, Dr. Dowlatt in San Fernando West, a very formidable candidate, and it's an excitable candidate. All other candidates in the marginal seats that are critical to the UNC maintaining their 19 and picking up 2 more must be equally excitable to keep the momentum for the UNC to be able to get to where they need to go. If they can hold on to the 19 at the very least, and Tobago gets 2, yes, obviously, Tobago is kingmaker. But the job becomes very hard for Tobago to become kingmaker, if the overconfidence and callousness of the UNC becomes so much so that they believe they've already won the election without the election date being called, and they start returning to their moorings by choosing a set of lame duck, quote-unquote, loyal candidates all over again. That does not inspire the confidence of the population. And we have to take into consideration, the population is also equally wary and skeptical of the UNC. And eyes are also on other political parties, like the Patriotic Front and the NTA. And there are those who believe themselves to be more qualified than myself and my seniors in political science and say, well, they ain't gonna make no they're not going to do nothing. Let me tell you something. in a two-man race in 2024, the number of votes that separated the PNM from the UNC in St. Joseph, no, sorry, in Barataria San Juan was 1,000 votes. The numbers that separated PNM and UNC in Shogunas East was 1,000 votes. And I know it took a whole lot of Facebook marketing and a lot of other campaigning to get Vanda Mohit to hold on to Shogunas.
This is 2020 we're speaking about, not 2024.
Sorry,
Yeah.
2020, right?
That Shogunas EC, by the way, that you're speaking about now is something to keep an eye on as well with Rishi Sugai,
Well,
you know.
I'll say this. Not only the Shogunas East seat is one to keep its eye on, so is the Barataria South seat that is one to keep its eye on.
With Dr. Yunus Abraham, yeah.
Correct. And it is very foolish, very, very, very disheartening to know that the PNM has put formidable candidates in there. 1,000 votes separates PNM and UNC in Barataria and in Shogunas East, and 700 votes separates the UNC and the PNM in Pointe-a-Pierre, right? So you tell me, common sense will tell you, that was a two-man race where there's 4 people competing in a seat. And Michaela, regardless of whether or not she will win a seat, we have seen in 2007 what third parties without the unification process can do. And that's fine if the UNC does not want to unify with the NTA and the Patriotic Front. They're entitled to not want to do that because there has to be reasons and valid reasons for whatever.
Well, there was actually a release on the part of the UNC yesterday in respect to meeting with other parties. Neither the Patriotic Front or the NTA were included in that list.
Correct. So whatever the reasons for that is, they would know their reasons. But the point is, these parties, the Patriotic Front and the NTA, if they start pulling 500 votes for themselves, what is going to happen? And what does the result look like? Does the UNC want a nail-biting finish where everybody is on the edge of their seats, including the political scientists who will be calculating and asking and looking at numbers? Do they want a nail-biting finish that even at 10 o'clock they're not sure if they win or lost? And they call in Tobago to find out if Tobago is secured it?
But generally speaking, look, Barataria San Juan, because I've got the map with me right now, taking a look at it. Barataria San Juan has always been a seat to watch, has always been relatively close in an election race. But what is interesting is that you've also, focusing on the UNC, you've also suggested that we're starting these parties at the current seats that they hold. With the PNM, excluding the Tobago seats, you're giving them 20, and with the UNC, 19. Thing is, do you think that the PNM, yes, they're going through their process, they're possibly going through their change, but do you think that it's, that you're giving a lot of credit by even letting them hold on to those 20 seats?
No, because at the end of the day, they have been able to, in a two-man race, as an unpopular government in 2020, they were able to hold on to San Fernando West, and they were able to hold on to St. Joseph. Now, even if let's just say they lose Barataria San Juan, and they put an extraordinary candidate in St. Joseph, and they win St. Joseph, it still keeps them at 19. But what happens if they lose to Barataria San Juan, and they lose Shogunas East? Once seats start collapsing like that, it becomes a domino effect because we still have Moruga Tableland in place. So let's do the math. If they're at 19, minus Barataria San Juan, minus Shogunas East, and minus Moruga Tableland, that now puts the UNC at 16, and minus the Pointe-a-Pierre, that puts the UNC at 15. And even if Tobago comes into play, that adds to 15 plus 2 is 17. Who really and truly holds the government?
So this is the thing now, Dr. Marvin. Let's focus on that. And the TPP getting themselves in order for an election race. They're mixed voices, mixed reviews coming out of Tobago, a sense of disappointment that the current administration has not necessarily delivered what they've promised, but there's also a sense of strength in standing up for what they believe in. The thing is that there's not a lot of time before the election is called. The next 6 months are very, very critical. With that being said, are we still suggesting that the TPP currently still has the power, the might, the influence to be a kingmaker in a general election?
They do, and we can't. I am not going to disregard the strength of the TPP because the TPP still maintains a certain level of goodwill, and from the people of Tobago, and the people of Tobago, will not change their minds about how they feel about the TPP, because one has to also take into consideration that the Tobagonian people also understand that a lot of what the TPP has not been able to deliver or has delivered somewhat in their campaign is also dependent on the budgetary allocation they've received from central government. And not all of that has been able to be fulfilled because of restrictions in terms of revenue generation, in terms of allowing them to go down a particular path where they could look at revenue streams both locally and internationally, partnerships both locally and internationally. Look, the question I always ask is, why is the government and why is the Civil Aviation Authority of Trinidad and Tobago preventing Tobago from having a larger cohort of international flights entering their markets? And is it that the Civil Aviation Authority is in cahoots with the central government to block the potential for more airlines from international airlines from going into Tobago? And if that is the case, then that's not an indictment on Tobago. That's not because they've not been trying. It's the fact that somebody is blocking or calling the shots. And if that's the case, Tobago is going to behave in a particular way, and they're entitled to behave in a particular way because they're getting frustrated by the adversarial behavior from the central government. And let's be real. There's only so much can be done when you don't have 2 seats in the parliament, and you need a more robust voice. So yes, Tobago can be kingmaker. Tobago is doing the work that needs to be done, and they're on the ground with their people, reorganizing themselves, reassuring, and putting things in place for them to, if not retain both, at least one. The onus is on the
And I want to know
opposition.
which one is that, because Shamfa Cujo still holds quite a bit of popularity in Tobago. Ayanna Webster Roy, there are still question marks around this. So are you referring to Ayanna Webster Roy's seat?
Yes, I am.
Is that so would you make an argument at this time? I mean, again, we're basing things off of what we've seen thus far, knowing fully well that we're not entirely sure of the election machinery as yet. But are you suggesting that that Tobago seat, that's Tobago East, I think, is a marginal at this point, or could be argued to be a marginal, though we know very little?
Well, no, it's not that we know very little. Tobago East has traditionally been always an opposition seat, and they only went in the favor of the PNM within very recent times, and I use the word recent times meaning in the last year, in the post-2001 period, right? They had a very good chance of winning. I mean, remember they won the seats in 2010, right? And it was because the partnership, because of the accusations against the partnership, the discrediting of the partnership, the TOP in Tobago became collateral damage against the PNM, right? And then in 2020, Watson Duke had a very good chance of winning either one or both seats, and more so the Tobago East seat than West. And it's his own mouth and utterances, what he said on the platform, caused the Tobagonians to say, okay, no, this is not this is not the direction we want to go. A year after, they went 6-6, and then they went 14-1. And the 14-1 was as a result of the understanding that the chief secretary was not going to be Watson Duke, but it was going to be Farley Augustine. I am saying that Tobago still remains very committed to the cause of Tobago being the greatest little island on the planet, and the understanding that the operations of the THA has been frustrated, and the effectiveness and the delivery aspect of the THA has been usurped by the behaviors and the gerrymandering and the undercurrents of the central administration, of the central government. At the same time, the burden cannot only be placed on Tobago, even if Tobago brings both seats home. And I'm saying that the PNM cannot be foolhardy to believe that as much as possible as Shamfa is, that the Tobago People's Party is not going to look for two of the strongest candidates to put on the ground to make an impact in the minds of the Tobagonian people. Putting that aside, it comes back to Trinidad. If the UNC believes that they could conduct their business as usual and take for granted the PNM's machinery and believe that the PNM is so unpopular that they can just do whatever they want and choose a such a lame duck candidate again and expect to win, then clearly somebody's delusional and somebody doesn't understand politics in that party. So, for example, if you start losing the seats you have, especially the marginal seats, not understanding and listening to one side, there's this preposterous belief that somehow the UNC has traditionally won Barataria, Samoa, and Shogunas East, and therefore they could do it again. In a four-man race, regardless of whether you give credit to the NTA or the Patriotic Front, they will still pull votes. And those votes can cause the seat to go to the PNM. Then what? So the onus is to keep the seats, but put proper candidates going forward and a high caliber of candidates going forward in the rest of your seats. The country is looking to see change, not exchange.
And that seems to be the slogan of the Patriotic Front right now, by the way. Change, not exchange.
Well, let's just say this to the Patriotic Front. Put your money where your mouth is and let the country start seeing your candidates.
Unfortunately, I don't have very much of an opinion in respect to the Patriotic Front at this point because they have not allowed for that.
Correct. Correct.
You know, they have not allowed for you to actually formulate an opinion.
Correct.
They seem to pop up now and again, you know, when unpopular decisions arise or when unfortunate things are happening, and they seem to have a sense of empathy on the part of Michaela Pani, but that's just about it.
It's a lot of spotlighting, Keaton.
Well, that's the nature of politics, isn't it?
It's a lot of spotlighting that the Patriotic Front is doing. I'm saying, however, that there are things that you can take for granted, and in an election like this, that's going to be very close. You cannot throw caution to the wind and take a risk. And I am saying that the UNC, because they are the opposition, we have to take into consideration the PNM enjoys a very comfortable thing. They enjoy incumbency. And I'll say that if I'm right, and Randall Mitchell is selected for Libre, it strengthens the look. And then there's one more person missing from this jigsaw puzzle that the Prime Minister is creating, and that is Dr. Amy Brown. And if Dr. Amy Brown is selected for one of the Diego Martins, then that's it, you know. The party has done it, the PNM has set up itself to, with the few changes that it has made.
There's Laventille West already with Barataria San Juan, which Shogunas East.
Correct. Correct.
So what are the other seats? What are the other seats that you got to consider in this, this election race? Because let's speak about that. Right, Michelle Benjamin's seat. West. Still waiting to see what's going on with San Fernando West because
that's a good fight. That's a really good fight there, you know.
Yeah.
But you know what? Dr. Dolat could be collateral damage where seats start collapsing in a domino effect. We also have to look at Pointe-a-Pierre.
David Lee and his position in Pointe-a-Pierre as well. Naparima is also going to be an interesting in respect to who the UNC selects to replace Rodney Charles.
So is Tabakit. We also have to keep our eyes on Mayaro to see what happens in Mayaro. And listen to me. If the UNC starts putting the same faces all over again, they're not going to do well. And the frustration that the population feels against the PNM, they will just simply say the UNC has not made an effort. Mrs. Pasabi Sessa has not taken us seriously, the people that is, and she's just put back us at the lame ducks. And then
why remove a candidate that won me the last election, though, especially in such a tight election race? When you take a look at Saddam Hussein and Barrett Harris won.
Because in a four-man race, it's more people that is in the election, and a 2007 election has shown that where there's a strong showing by a third party, it can cost the party the seat.
And in that regard as well, speaking about third parties, spoke about the Patriotic Front. Let's focus a bit more on the NTA, which seems to be the more viable of third parties at this point, or the more vocal of third parties, because there are other parties that exist in the form of COP, in the form of Hope. They are meeting with the United National Congress. Whatever that conversation entails, or the outcome of that conversation, we are waiting to see. But what about the NTA and their fight in the next election? They're pushing forward candidates. They are announcing candidates for seats. They've already got constituency custodians who seems to be the candidates elect to represent the NTA in the next general election. But the relationship between the political leader of the NTA and the United National Congress is, well, to put it nicely, very bitter. How is that reflective on the relationships or the needs for a partnership heading into the next election? Can the NTA actually make a difference in a general election?
In a general election, regardless of what you think about a political party and whatever you believe about the NTA, the point is, if the NTA starts encroaching on the marginal seats and they start making inroads, whether people believe that Gary should be given an opportunity, whether they believe the NTA should be given an opportunity, they're going to start eroding the margin between UNC and PNM. And it has been shown that if you have a low voter turnout and a marginal seat has a third party in it, what happens? Even if you have a high voter turnout and people feel extraordinarily confident about a particular candidate and they come out and vote, you still have to watch yourself as in the incumbent as to how much you could win the seat by. Now, I am saying the UNC might have been better off by holding on to Saddam Hussein. Young, bright fellow. I have no issue with Saddam Hussein. But repurpose him in another seat and do not throw caution to the wind and be very say, well, we've won this before. He holds incumbency. Saddam won the seat because Fuad Khan walked in the constituency with him, and the support and the camaraderie that was existing there did a lot of work for itself. I know for a fact that Vandana Mohammed got a lot of external assistance because she was by the third week in the run-up to the election, she was trailing behind. So she didn't win it on her own merit. She required a lot of external assistance and a lot of support from other agencies of the party to get the seat secured, right? Muruga Tabalan worked fantastically by a system and a framework that allowed Michelle Benjamin to win, right? But if seats start collapsing from the top in Barataria coming down, there's going to be a domino effect. In the history of the PNM versus the UNC, David Lee won by one of the slimmest margins in Pointe-a-Pierre. You can't take that for granted, given the fact that if you continue to put candidates that are unpopular, unfavorable, even in the marginal seats, which we have seen in 2020. It's going to have an effect on the 2020 in the marginal seats in 2024 again. And the more we can't expect to be doing the same thing all over again and expect there to be a difference and a change and expect, well, because and stand on the notion that the PNM is in a mess and the PNM is all over the place and the PNM is a bad government and people are fed up of the PNM. But if you can't be better than the PNM, you expect people to vote for you?
Well, Dr. Mohammed, this conversation, seriously, I mean, you've explained why Tobago has the potential to be kingmaker, but I mean, before we go though, there's one seat that looks like a very juicy race, depending on what happens in these conversations, is St. Joseph. Is Anna Roberts going to get that nod for the United National Congress, or is Philip Alexander of the PP joining forces for a partnership, a coalition for the UNC, and going to run in that seat against Gary Griffith, against Terence Yelsing? That is a seat that I am looking at very, very closely.
I will tell you this about St. Joseph. The St. Joseph people are very sophisticated. They are very intellectual. They don't like bacchanal and commerce in their constituency. And if the UNC lose their mind, and I'm not saying that Philip is not a good candidate, but Philip is better purposed in another seat. If the UNC puts Philip versus Gary versus Terence Yelsing in St. Joseph, the result of that is going to be bacchanal and commerce. And there's going to be like a husband and a wife fighting each other in the road as a result of a disputed divorce. And what is going to happen is that so much noise rather than policy and discussion on how to make St. Joseph better is going to be lost because of the constant banter between Philip and Gary. The whole thing is going to sail right through. I am saying the St. Joseph constituencies are very critical to them, the UNC getting to 20. But so is Barataria Samoa. And I am at this stage, Keaton, I'm very concerned about the UNC's ability to maintain 19. Very concerned. And the UNC can't expect to hold on, to pick up other seats when there are already doubts on the ground about two particular seats.
Well, I'm having my question marks about another particular seat. We don't have a lot of time left, but that seems like a seat as well. I'm keeping my eye on because we've got Renuka Sagram, Suklal going up for the PNM. But the question is whether or not Khadija Amin will get the nod once more, or if somehow or the other Vasan Barath is the one to come back in and swoop potentially that seat as well.
If you were to do a comparison between the UNC and the PNM slate, there's one thing that, and I don't want to hear people tell me nonsense about, well, them are good. At the end of the day, the PNM, any administration, UNC or PNM, needs a group of stalwarts that are going to be the people that are institutions that understand government and governance and how it works. And if you look at the PNM right now, with the retention of Penny, with the retention of Camille, with the retention of there's somebody else, of Faris, with the attention, there's a grouping of persons who understands, who served before, who served in other capacities before, that understands governance and how the government works. And by bringing in people, if they bring in, when Randall is a former minister, is a current minister, bringing him into Labray strengthens Labray's their representation as compared to McClatchy. Then they're doing something that shows that there are people that still have some level of regard and respect in constituencies. Why would you want to put the same old, the UNC cannot depend on incumbency. The UNC is held at a different standard than the PNM. the UNCs, the opposition, they are expected to do better than the PNM in their lineup. Otherwise, they're going to suffer consequences. That's the bottom line of it. And if you're not prepared, if you're not prepared to make the changes, prepare to stand the consequences.
Well, according to the opposition leader, the meeting held yesterday between the PEP, well, with the PEP, the Movement for National Development led by Garvin Nicholas, Kirk Zinetz, interim leader of Congress of the People, the OWTU, the PSA. She has labeled it as better. It's insisting that it'll be even better than the 2010 People's Partnership. But we are keeping our eye on this. So the election race is certainly heating up. Dr. Mohammed, I want to thank you for your time this morning, and thank you for giving us your seats to focus on. These are the seats that are really going to bring either great frustration on an election night for us analysts, or, you know, it's probably going to make an election easier to understand before the date is actually called. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me, Keith.
We've got one more week before the big holidays, so be on standby.
For sure.
It's a lot,
for sure.
a lot happening in the political
That's
arena.
fine. That's fine. I know. Yes, I am on high alert. So yeah.
All right, Dr. Mohammed, take care. All the very best.
You too.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, and that essentially explains why Tobago can be a kingmaker in the next general election, given those two seats in Tobago. That one seat, though, Tobago East in particular, is one to keep an eye out for. But let's see what happens in the coming months, especially with the TPP. But the election horns are bellowing, and though a date is yet to be called, you can feel the fever in the air with all the conversations and with all what is happening in political parties. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a break here on the program. Still some conversation to get into, so stay with us. We'll be right back.
My name is Dr. Stephen Carroll, the CEO at Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist, and we are committed to making good private healthcare affordable.
For all your medical needs, including dental, radiology, laparoscopy, behavioral and mental health, along with many other services, contact us for more information at 235-5479.
Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist,
where good private health care is affordable.
Simon's Musical Supplies Limited. We are the specialist in new and used musical instruments, carrying top brands like Yamaha, Pearl River pianos, Vinyl and Sabian cymbals, Remo and Evans drumheads and Fender guitars, just to name a few. Also a wide assortment of music books, pan and accessories. At Simon's, we service what we sell. Trust the leader. Call us now at 625-6412 or visit us at 20 Board Street, Port of Spain.
Transform your home with PCU Plus. From stylish furniture to the latest appliances, we have everything you need to create your perfect space. At PCU Plus, we offer fair prices and affordable financing options that are cheaper than hire purchase agreements. With convenient locations in San Fernando, Tobago, Arima, and our lifestyle showroom in Barataria, you're never far from the best deals. Visit PCU Plus today and discover why we're the top choice for quality furniture and appliances. PCU Plus. Quality you trust. Prices you'll love. Visit one of our locations or find us online to start transforming your home today.
Here's your chance to win a bicycle, a ride-on, or a hoverboard. Shop at dbesttoys.com and spend $300 or more to win big.
We've got Barbie,
Hot Wheels, Gel Blasters, Ride-ons,
Leapfrog,
Nerf, bicycles and tricycles.
Greco, and Wonder Baby.
Visit us in store at Forces Flagship, McLean, Movietown, Port of Spain, Eastgate Mall, and M6 Plaza, Endeavour. Merry Christmas, everyone!
Welcome back to AM Prime, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being with us this morning. We've had a conversation thus far that's focused primarily on politics. So now let's speak about something good. There is still a lot of good in society, and when I speak about good in this particular context, people reaching out to those who are vulnerable in society, lending an assisting hand, guidance. Those are key elements to us building a society for each other and with each other. And there are many who need such guidance and assistance. But Tabitha's Home for Women and Children are doing their part. And recently, we learned of some news of them expanding. So this morning, I'm actually joined by the director of Tabitha's Home, Ms. Rena Pitt. Good morning, Ms. Pitt, and welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thank you for having us on.
Thank you very much for joining us. So I've given a very brief idea of Tabitha's Home in respect to the work that they do, but could you please, speak to its purpose and exactly what it does, especially in the assistance of women and children?
Sure. So Tabitha's Home for Women and Children is a faith-based nonprofit organization. We were registered in 2019, so we've been functioning for about 5 years. And the purpose, the mission of Tabitha's Home is to restore, empower, and transform the lives of women and children who have been affected by any form of abuse and exploitation. So
Sorry, go ahead, continue.
We do that primarily by providing assistance through physical, so foodstuffs and clothing, but we also provide counseling, we provide activities for children, we do life skills classes, so a holistic approach to providing that restoration, that empowerment, and that transformation in women's lives.
Speaking in current terms, how many people are at Tabitha's Home and are seeking the assistance of Tabitha's Home?
Well, right now, on a monthly basis, we assist about 30 or more families. It ranges somewhere between 30 and 35 families that we assist with groceries every month. We have had graduations from our life skills classes. That has been about 15 or so women in total that have come through our training, learning to sort of rebuild their lives after abuse.
Wow, that is incredible. In that respect as well, how has Tabitha been able to keep its focus and keep its operations going? 35 families a month, that's incredible.
That is a lot. We have a lot of support, local support from individuals, from institutions. We have received grant funding from places like Digicel Foundation. We must mention them. They have been one of our biggest supporters. NLCB also. So we have a lot of local support. We have support from overseas as well. There are churches that support the work that we do. And I can't forget the whole host of volunteers that come through and work and support. So we've had an outpouring of community support. And of course, we give God all the thanks and praise. We couldn't have done it. We've come this far with his help.
Well, recently Tabitha's Home went through an expansion and they've expanded their facilities and their service. Could you please tell us more bits of that?
Well, through a grant from Digicel Foundation with their LSD partners, we were able to do some more interior work on the building to actually complete the units that we have for women. Our model is a little bit different from the community shelter. So we actually have small one-bedroom units that provide more independent families. So these units have their own kitchenette, their own bathroom, and a large bedroom that can accommodate a mother and 2 or 3 children. So we completed the interior of those units, and we added a full laundry room, a kitchen, and a meeting space where we'll be able to have classes and other training sessions. So thank you so much to Digicel Foundation for that incredible support that we were able to complete that work.
Something you just mentioned, you completed the interior. What about the exterior?
Well, it's a good thing you mentioned that. We are doing a fundraiser right now to put a secure wall around the premises. It's a vulnerable population, so security is very important. So we are running a fundraiser that we call Donate a Brick, and we're asking the public to support us. A brick represents any building material, but particularly one towards the wall. And we're saying one brick is $20. You can give 5 bricks or more, and your name will be placed on our virtual wall, which is on our website. If you get together with a group and give 50 or more, or do it individually, that's only $1,000. Your name will actually be inscribed on the real wall around Tabitha's home. So it will be there for posterity. You can come, so get together with a group of classmates, with your co-workers, with your family, and donate to Tabitha's home. Donate a brick, and you will have your name inscribed on that wall that provides safety and security, a safe space for women and their children to rebuild their lives.
Thus far, have you gotten subscription to this charitable drive? How people participating?
Yes, we are so happy because people are responding, they are giving. We've had organizations respond, we've had individuals respond. So we're excited. We're hoping that by the turn of the year, we will be ready to start the construction of the wall at the beginning of the front of the property. But we need more people. So I'm hoping that folks will reach out. They can find us at tabithas-home.org, and they will see more information there on how they can donate a brick.
Tabitha's Home this year alone has really gone through quite a bit of transformation, and as you mentioned, the Digicel Foundation has been an integral part of that because the Digicel Foundation actually completed the installation of a technology center at Tabitha's Home earlier this year as well. Please tell me a bit more about that.
Yes, we have a small computer lab that's been installed in the offices that is open to the women and children, and we try to make it available to the general public as well, but primarily for women who need to come in. They can do resume preparation and printing, they can do job searches. We are in the process of starting a computer training class that will happen in January, where women and the young women, because we're finding that the young women, they know their phones really well, but not so much computers. So they can come in and get basic computer training. And then we're hoping to partner with the Information Technology Center here in Tobago, where they can even further their training once they have that basic foundation. So we're very excited for the resources that we have available, and we're even more excited to put those resources to use so that women and children and anyone actually in the local community can benefit from that computer lab that's at Tabitha's.
Tabitha is really, their focus on vulnerable parts of society, women and children. Their aim, as you said, is to restore, to empower, to transform, and really turn these vulnerable sections of society to the complete opposite, where they are a part of society, where they're part of building society, and they're seen as integral members of society. What about stories in respect to such transformations?
Oh, that's the best part. Even the hard work, the long nights, that is the best part. When you hear women say, you know, I would not have had the courage to take a sewing class, which for many of us, you would say, but it was just a sewing class. But when you have had difficulties in life that sometimes beats you down to the place where you really don't think you can, and then there are others that come alongside and say, yes, you can. And you receive the empowerment that you can believe that I really can do this. And you see them step out and make that change and succeed, oh, it makes all the hard work worth the while. So we've had testimonies of women who, when we first met them, didn't have anywhere to live, were in very, very difficult situations that have now moved on. Some of them actually work for us now, are on staff at Tabitha's home. We have others who come and volunteer and give up their time and their resources to give back because they remember where they were at one point and now want to reach back and help others to overcome the obstacles that, all of us at some point in life can face. And that is one thing we encourage, that, it's not just a particular group of people, but any of us, there go I, but for the grace of God. So we have had some remarkable stories of women who have come through and experienced change.
Isn't that wonderful that people do not necessarily forget their past and the challenges that they face, though very much emotionally hurtful and frustrating it can be, an emotional toll it can be. They don't forget it because of overcoming it. They also want to assist others in that journey. Isn't that incredible that there's
That
still
is,
people wanting to do that?
yes, that is amazing. It is heartwarming when we have women that would say, oh, Miss Rowena, anything you need, just let me know. I will be happy. I'll come, I'll work, I'll talk to the other women because I remember where I was and the change that happened in my life.
Now, there are different initiatives at Tabitha's Home, where you mentioned, the renovations that have taken place, the tech center that was completed just a couple of months ago. But there's also Tabitha's Pantry. You spoke about that earlier in the conversation, where 35 families every month receive assistance in the form of grocery items. There's Tabitha's Closet as well. But there's also Tabitha's Kids Place. And I'm curious to know about Tabitha's Kids Place as per that initiative and exactly what it does.
Well, Tabitha's Kids, that's actually one of my favorite initiatives. I love working with the children. So every Saturday, we have a kids club where the children of the families that we assist can come. Also, children in the community come and they're a part. We have games, we have crafts, we have activities. We do Bible lessons with them. We do skills training in some small ways. We're wanting to expand, little things like crochet and sewing and woodwork, and they come and have a grand time. In July of this year, we had our Super Saturdays, where every Saturday we went on a different field trip. So we took them all around the island. We went to Genesis Nature Park in Goodwood, where they gave us such wonderful support. You guys go check them out. Great small petting zoo. And we were able to take, it was about 30 children up to the nature park, and the kids, they loved it. So they come out, they get a little attention, a snack, they have fun. And they're able to, build resilience in the children as they participate one with another and they explore their world a little bit more. We've discovered that sometimes our children live in very small worlds. They go to school and they come home and that's about it. Because of the limit in terms of economics, I can't really do some of the other things that families get to do, right? They get to travel, they go places. So we try to broaden their horizons a little bit, expose them to different activities, and certainly love on them as much as we can. So Tabitha's Kids Place is one of my favorite initiatives. We're hoping to expand that program in this upcoming year. And eventually include a daycare facility where the parents who have to work can bring their children and leave them in a safe space so that they can go out and further their careers. So like I said, we're excited about what's happening in the kids program and looking forward to expanding even more in 2025.
I will tell you, as a kid, I used to look forward to field trips, so I could imagine the excitement associated with that. I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait to go home and get that consent form signed and say, "Hey, listen, see you tomorrow. We're going
Yes.
on a field trip." So that's a lot
And
of fun.
For our, we every year we have what we call a Christmas shop where we allow the kids to come in. We give them pretend credit cards and they actually get to go through and pretend they're shopping for their own toys. And we are so blessed this year because we are partnering with the Logos Hope, you know, the ship that is in the harbor, the big
Yes,
floating
yeah.
book fair. And we're having our Christmas shop on board the Logos Hope. I think maybe I'm more excited than the children. They get to go on this huge ship for many of them. It will be the first time they've been on a boat that big, and they're going to have their Christmas shop there, Christmas activities, get to go home with a book. I can't wait. Next week, Wednesday, that's going to be my fun day of doing that with the children.
Oh, wonderful. I'm so glad to hear that. Well, as we are coming towards the end of this interview, how can people participate in Tabitha's Home's mission? How can they be a part of this?
Well, we welcome individuals who want to be a part and who support the vision and mission of Tabitha's Home. They can reach us at 357-9072. That is our main number. They can call us for more information. They can certainly find us on Facebook and Instagram. They can find us on the web at tabithas-home.org to get more information. We welcome people who want to come and donate. We accept items in kind, groceries and clothing. We are happy to have people come and volunteer. We always need work done around the building. And certainly we want people to donate a brick, to give to the work that we're doing, and most of all, pray for us. We need God's help to do what He has called us to do. It's a big job. Sometimes it's hard, so we need support that way. So if you can't do anything else for Tabitha's Home, then please, please pray for us.
Well, there's one more thing that can be done, and prayers are always a good thing, and prayers are always welcomed. But I want to reiterate this Donate a Brick program one more time before we bid farewell. If you can just tell people how they can donate to the cause.
Sure. So for Donate a Brick, you can go straight to our website, tabithas-home.org, and you will find more information right on the front page. You can donate in cash. You can also do an online transfer directly to our checking account. It's our First Citizens Bank checking account. That number is 282-7944. I can say it again, 282-7944. That is our checking account number at First Citizens Bank. And you can make a donation. Please note that it is for Donate a Brick so that we can recognize your name. If you would like, I know some donors want to be anonymous, so if you don't want us to include your name, that would be absolutely fine. But please donate a brick, support us. 5 or more, your name goes on our virtual wall. 50 or more, your name will be inscribed on the actual wall that goes around Tabitha's.
Well, Ms. Pitt, thank you very much for joining us on the program this morning. Thank you for the work that you and your team are doing to help those who need it the most. And of course, I mean, it's incredible the various initiatives on the part of Tabitha's Home, but we do hope that support and those prayers continue to be received. So thank you very much and all the very best to you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us on. Have a good day.
Have a great day and a wonderful season ahead. And certainly that field trip next week, Wednesday, sounds very exciting. So we look forward to that as well.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. Ladies and gentlemen, there is always good happening in society, and we do not necessarily see it, but there are little pockets of hope that exist, and Tabitha's Home is certainly one. So, you know, it may sound cliche to you, and you may have heard this many times before, but oftentimes we have to remind you that there are many of those out there who are less fortunate than we are. Having this conversation this morning, being able to put on this jacket and this shirt is a privilege. And there are many out there who do not necessarily have it. So there are little things that you can do to help those in society. It's a society for all. Let us work together, let us build it. There's a lot of good that we can do. And you don't have to be a wealthy person to be a charitable person. You have to have a good heart and a good mind. And that in itself goes a very long way. So thank you to Tabitha's Home, but it just shows that there's a lot that you can do with a very little that you can give. Ladies and gentlemen, do your part. Make society one for all. That's my message to you as we end this edition of AM Prime. As we end AM Prime for this week, it's getting exciting as this weekend is the eve of the Christmas Eve weekend, if you like to put it like that. But we certainly hope that you are feeling a bit of cheer and a bit of the spirit. And we hope that if you don't, that very soon you will, for whatever reason, for whatever the cause may be. But thank you to all those who joined me on the program this morning. Thank you to my team in studio, Ryan Gomez-Burke and Milewood, for their continued hard work in ensuring that AM Prime goes live. And of course, to Naomi McNish for producing this program. To you, I wish you a great day, a great weekend. Remember, today is a good day to have a good day. And we'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.
Si cogióle la desgracia, qué golpe no llevaría. Qué golpe no llevaría, una mujer me llamaba, pero yo no le
Be a part of a very special holiday event. Walt Disney presents Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas. Join Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, Goofy, and all your favorite Disney characters in the film that brings home the true meaning of the holidays.
Share the joy of Christmas.
Come along as Mickey and Minnie discover the magic of sharing.
You're all the music I'll ever need.
Donald Duck and his nephews learn the joy of Christmas comes only once a year.
The best day of the year!
And Goofy shows Max
Of course there's a Sammy.
that with faith and a little trust, dreams do come true.
Merry Christmas, Dad.
All your favorite Disney characters in one big holiday celebration. Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas.